got Miss Braswell in the hallway, but I told her that she should be in the morning, and she's just staying just in case.
Don't think we'll reach her, and even if you finish your direct examination of this witness, I don't think the defense won't be long.
No more than 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll see if we can finish this witness. We'll start in the morning with Ms. Braswell then. Yes, sir. Thank you. That's refreshing to know. Thank you. Yes, sir. Detective Browning, you come forward, please, sir. Detective Browning, you can resume your seat on the witness stand. You were previously sworn in earlier today, and you're still under oath to tell the truth. And Detective Brown, I'm told by Deputy Phillips that some of the jurors indicated they may be having a difficult time hearing some of your testimony. So make sure you speak up a little bit louder, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Hagerman, you may proceed.
All right, we got some pictures to look at, some exhibits to publish. We have a little more evidence after that for you to look at, Detective Browning. But I think we're all maybe hoping to wrap you up in the next 30, 45 minutes, okay?
Okay.
So let's start with this picture here, Detective. What do we see?
It's an overhead view of where Lorenzen's body was located.
And you had named the street as Callus Cutoff, is that right?
Correct.
The street here at the bottom, is that Callus Cutoff?
That is Callus Cutoff.
And you describe the area as a field with some woods and some trees, is that right?
Correct.
Next exhibit. Another angle of the road, is that right?
That's correct.
And we're going to see closer pictures, but there's actually a barbed wire fence that separates the road from the field, is that right?
That's right.
So the barbed wire fence runs like this, is that right?
Yeah, east to west. Yes.
East to west.
Yes.
All right, and before we do this, let's skip ahead a couple of exhibits to the crime scene sketch. I think what the sketch is going to be able to do is sort of give us a general idea of what we're looking at. All right. It's hard to read from this far away, but I have copies, Your Honor,
Yes,
for
sir.
the jury to follow along.
Yes, sir. Deputy Phillips. Ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Phillips is passing out to you a copy of what I believe is exhibit number 15, a crime scene sketch showing the location of Lorenzen Wright's body and other evidence placards. You may include that in your jury notebook also. And the fact that it's included in your notebook, have to admonish you that you cannot give any greater significance to that. Do not place any greater importance on it because it has in fact been included in your notebook. It has been given to you just to assist you in following Detective Browning's testimony. You may include that in your notebook, but do not put any emphasis on it because it is in fact in your notebook. Mr. Hagerman, you may proceed.
All right, we're looking at this sketch, Detective. Is that right?
That's right.
This first top part of the sketch, I'm going to call the key, okay? The key to the sketch describes what it is we're talking about.
Okay.
Is that right?
That's right.
Line across the middle is labeled Callus Cutoff. That's the road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there's going to be various things labeled on the key, but then their location is shown as we go through the sketch. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right.
Any one more?
Okay, I can see that from here. Now, this is a sketch that was prepared, maybe some color added, but back in 2010. Is that correct? This wasn't something you produced?
No.
All right.
No.
This is the crime scene as it existed in 2010?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Right.
And various things that are located are things that crime scene, you'll see the pictures, put placards down for and or collected. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would it also be fair to say that some things were important and some things weren't?
That's correct.
What was collected is what was out there.
Right.
All right. Well, if you will, start in the road there at Callus Cutoff. What was found in the road there at Callus Cutoff?
Okay. So you've got labeled 1, which is an empty Gordon's bottle.
All right. That's like a liquor bottle or something?
Correct.
May or may not be important, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And then you've got number 16, and it's labeled as a piece of barbed wire, which is just below number 1.
All right. This diagram here indicates barbed wire with what looks sort of like barbed wire on the sketch. So, right? See that?
Correct.
Okay.
And then you have number 15, which again is another piece of barbed wire.
Does this appear to be like cut barbed wire?
Correct, like loose barbed wire.
Okay.
And then you have number 13, which is an empty 24-ounce Ice House beer can.
May be important, may not be important.
Correct. And then you have number 2, which is one old spent .380 bullet casing.
So this is a bullet casing from a 380, is that correct?
Correct.
And you said old. What do you mean by that?
It was rusted and had mud and dirt on it, so it just looked like it'd been there a while.
Looked like it'd been there a long time.
Correct. And then you have number 3, which is going to be the spent 25 caliber shell casing. And then you have number 4. They have it labeled one spent 8.35B SMB bullet casing. And then number 5 and number 6 are labeled the same, which is one spent 8.35B SMB bullet casing. You have number 7, which is one spent 9mm bullet casing. And then number 8, which is one spent 8.35B SMB bullet casing.
Okay, so if I'm counting here, on the road, we've got the cut barbed wire, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 25 caliber casings. Is that correct?
Correct.
And they're also described as 8.35Bs.
Right.
No, but that's the same thing. Those are the 25 caliber
Correct.
casings.
Correct.
And what kind of gun is a 25 caliber?
It's just a small handgun.
Small handgun.
Yes.
Okay. And then we also have listed, also on the road in between some of those casings, a spent 9mm casing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And 9mm is a handgun as well. Is correct?
Correct.
Larger than the 25.
Correct. You want me to continue?
Continue with things on the road.
Okay. Number 9 is going to be a small, flat, plastic, empty water bottle. Number 10 will be an empty 24-ounce Bud Ice beer can. Number 11 will be an empty McDonald's large fry container. And then number 18 will be a Virginia Slim cigarette butt. And then you have number 14, which is cherry chapstick, which is just off the road in the grass. And then you have number 12, which is an empty clear plastic 32-ounce Exxon cup.
And some of this stuff you listed, like liquor bottle, like chapstick, beer, cups. Was any investigation done on those things?
Correct.
I'm sorry, was there any investigation done with regard to those things?
They were sent to TBI.
All right, looking for what?
DNA.
And I know you're not the DNA scientist, you're not the expert, but to your knowledge, were results all negative for any DNA?
Yes.
All right, so whatever investigation you could do with regard to that chapstick or that Ice House beer can, the Exxon cup, that was done. But everything was negative.
Everything was negative.
All right. With regard to these casings that are found here on the road, are those retained by crime scene?
Correct.
Tagged into evidence?
Correct.
And actually in the envelopes that were introduced in court. Is that correct?
Correct.
And are they retained for a particular reason?
Yes. Just for evidence purposes.
For evidence purposes, and is there any ability to match casings to guns and things like that?
Yes.
All right, so this potentially important evidence with regard to 25 casings and the 9mm that were found in the street.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now this barbed wire, you discovered as a fence, is that right?
Yes.
You can see pictures of it later, but you described it as being cut?
Right.
What do you mean by that?
There's a section cut from the barbed wire fence. So it kind of depicted in your picture.
Here?
Yes, from all the way to the other. There was a big gap that was cut out in front of the
So
scene.
this in here and then this and all the way to the post.
Correct.
All right, we crossed the barbed wire fence. We saw the aerial view. We saw like a field and we saw trees. What do we do when we cross the barbed wire fence to get to the next important area?
You're gonna. They've got it labeled 6A, which is a blue wrapper. There's gonna be. Yes. The first piece. Yes. And then just below that you have 7A, which is one spent 9mm casing. You have 8A, which is another 9mm spent casing. 9A, which is a spent 9mm casing. You have 10A, which is a spent 9mm casing. You have 5A, which is a spent 9mm casing. You have 4A, which is a spent 9mm casing, and then 3A, which is a spent 9mm casing, 2A, which is a spent 9mm casing, and 1A, which is a spent 9mm casing.
If I go over the fence in the area that's missing the barbed wire, that's cut out, I go over that, I walk into some trees adjacent to a field. That's where we find 6A, which what was 6A again?
That's going to be just a blue wrapper.
And then I come to a series of casings, is that correct?
Correct.
If I'm counting right, 9mm casings, is that correct?
Correct.
And these are all found right around the circled area where it says this is the area where the victim's body was found.
That's correct.
So 9mm casings right around the victim's body.
Correct.
And also in that same circle with the victim, I've got 2 were labeled as spent bullets. Is that right?
Well, 12A is 2 spent bullets, and then 13A is 1 spent bullet.
Three spent bullets
Correct.
In the area of the victim.
Correct.
And are all those things retained by crime scene
They are.
so that later they can be tested?
Yes.
All right, let's go back to the photographs and walk through it like that. All right, what are we looking at?
It's going to be a photo of callus cut and a part of where the barbed wire is missing with the metal pole sticking out of the ground.
Is this the road?
That's the road.
The post for the fence?
Correct.
And we're missing barbed wire.
Correct.
All right. What's this here?
It's a zoomed in photo of the barbed wire.
Is this Do you know if this picture is a picture of the fragment of barbed wire that has been cut, that's in the diagram, or is this actual picture of the fence?
I do not know. It looks like it's been either zoomed in. It just appears to be a part of the barbed wire,
Okay.
maybe of the fencing.
Here we see the fence, missing the barbed wire, is that right?
That's correct.
Looking down, cow's cut off.
Correct.
Fence post, missing the barbed wire.
Correct.
And here we see what you were talking about earlier. What do we have a picture of here?
It's the end where the barbed wire is connected on one side, but it's been cut on the other, where that gap we saw in the diagram.
Here.
Yes.
Do you know whether or not sections of this fence were retained by the police?
They were.
They were.
Mhm.
All right, we got a faraway picture. What are we looking at?
It's just a zoomed out photo of the placards that were on the diagram that are listed on the road.
These placards correspond to the things in the diagram,
Correct.
including the casings and other stuff that was collected out there.
Correct.
Barbed wire fence, not go over the fence, not be in a wooded area.
Correct.
More of the placards, I see 12 here, which is a cup, and other placards there on the road. Is that right?
That's correct.
Zoomed in picture of placard 2. What's placard 2?
Placard 2 is that's going to be the old spent 380 bullet casing.
Okay, this is that casing you found out there. That you found out there that they found out there that you said looked really old and rusted.
Correct.
Next one. Placard 3.
3 is going to be the spent 8.35B SMB bullet casing, or 25 caliber.
I call that the 25 caliber casing.
Yes.
Okay. See a collection of the 25 caliber cases here.
Yes. Same thing, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all the 25 caliber shell cases.
Seven and
7 and 8, which is going to be the one spent 9mm shell casing, and then 125. So 7 is the spent 9mm casing, and then 8 is the another spent 25 caliber.
8. The 7 is the one 9mm casing that we find on the road.
Correct.
We're going to find 9 more near the body.
Correct.
And 8 is another 25 casing that's a little bit further down the street than the other 25 cases.
That's correct.
Okay. It's another deal. Right? All right. We've gone over the fence and we've gone through the wooded area. And Lorenzen was located, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's a picture of Lorenzen.
Yes.
Nine or 10 days afterwards, after the 911 call, is that right?
That's correct.
In July,
In July.
is that correct?
Yes.
So they see the body as it was found.
That's correct.
Are you aware as to what items were found on Lorenzen at the time of his death?
I know he had some necklace and jewelry.
In fact, were you aware that he was wearing an expensive wristwatch
Yes.
that was still on the body?
Yes.
Other jewelry that was still on the body.
Correct.
All right. A collection of placards and flags. And if I'm right, these things denote various places that the 9mm cases were found or the spent bullets around the body, is that right?
Yes.
There's a liquor bottle that had been tagged, I guess, as number 1, is that right?
Correct.
And again, these items were followed up on all with negative results,
Negative results.
unable to obtain any DNA.
That's correct.
Is that his on that? Before Mr. Wright was found there at Cow's Cutoff, you aware as to whether or not a search warrant was executed at the house on Whisper Woods?
It was.
And do you know in response why the search warrant was executed?
For evidence concerning Lorenzen Wright.
In particular, do you know what motivated the search warrant to be executed at Whisper Woods?
They had received information from a neighbor that a large fire was in the backyard during a hot summer, so
Fire in the backyard
yes.
after the disappearance of Lorenzen Wright
Correct.
in the middle of July
Correct.
before his body was found.
Correct.
Did detectives go to Whisper Woods?
They did.
Did they serve a search warrant?
They did.
Did they inspect the backyard?
Yes.
Did they find any structure or which could have a fire like that?
They did.
What did they find back there?
It's like a, I guess, like a small chimney area where you can kind of burn things, like put a firewood and everything. It kind of sits up high above a fire pit.
And did they find remnants of, what you call it, things or stuff
Yes.
that aren't commonplace in fire pits in the backyard?
Yes, it was like the metal piecings within like envelopes, paper clips, like office supplies.
Remnants of documents?
Yes.
Look at those pictures and tell me what that picture's at.
This is going to be a picture of the fire pit. And then we have a zoomed in picture of the fire pit and a piece of paper. But you can't read the writing. It's a burnt piece of paper. And then you have a zoomed in photo of some paper clips, the metal bindings and envelopes, some change, and some other folder clippings. And then you have a zoomed in photo of just that little piece of paper that was left from being burnt. And it's got the word north, and it looks like part of the word attorneys. And that's it.
We have those marked to say something on YouTube.
Mr. Randall, Mr. Thomas, interjection.
No, Your Honor.
Without objection, the court will admit exhibit number 39, described by Detective Browning as a photo of a fire pit, exhibit 39. Exhibit 40. The photograph described by Detective Browning is a zoomed in photo of the fire pit, exhibit number 40. Exhibit number 41, the photograph described by Detective Browning as a zoomed in photograph showing paper, clips, bindings, and coins, exhibit 41. Exhibit number 42 would be a photograph showing what has been described by Detective Browning as a photograph showing burned paper with some partial writings on it. Attorneys North. Exhibit number 42. Ms. Hagerman, proceed.
As part of that search and other searches in the days after he goes missing, do detectives come in possession of Sherra Wright's cellular telephone?
They do.
Are they able to extract information from the cellular telephone?
They are.
Pass you this document. Slide. Are they able to find evidence of a text message from Sherra Wright the night of this murder?
They are.
Are they able to find evidence of a text message from Sherra Wright to Billy Turner the night of this murder?
Yes.
Are they able to find evidence of a text message from Sherra Wright to Billy Turner about 25 minutes before that 911 call is made?
Yes.
And are they able to recover the substance of that message?
They are.
Who's the sender of the message?
The sender is going to be Sherra Wright,
And who receives it?
Billy Turner.
And what does the message read?
I'm going to need my
You need
commission.
to speak out, I think, so everybody.
I'm going to need my commission. Ren want you to bring your cards in the AM before you fly out. You owe me, boy.
I'm going to need my commission, is that what you said?
I'm like IMMA. I'm going to need my commission.
And something about business cards?
Ren want you to bring your cards in the AM before he fly out.
Whose business cards?
Billy's.
Billy's business cards. You familiar with what business Billy Turner had?
He cut lawns.
Where?
It's Sherra Wright's residence.
Yeah, but in what city do you cut loans?
I'm assuming Shelby County, or Memphis, Carterville.
In Memphis. And where was Atlanta? Where was Lorenzen living?
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta. Offer that evidence to say 600.
Sir, Andre Thomas, interjections?
No, you don't.
This will be exhibit number 4343. A document described by Detective Browning as a text message sent from Sherra Wright to Billy Turner. July 18th, 2010. Time is indicated 11:47:17 p.m. Exhibit number 43. Hagerman, you may proceed.
Were a series of texts also found between Sherra Wright and Lorenzen Wright beginning on, or all on 7/17, the day before Lorenzen Wright was killed.
Yes.
Generally, I don't need you to read them, they generally describe to me what Sherra's text to Lorenzen was about.
Explicit, I guess, text messages telling him that she wants to sleep with him.
And where does she want him, do his text messages indicate where she wants him to come?
To Memphis.
To Memphis?
Yes.
For sexual reasons?
Correct.
To her?
Yes.
Offer that evidence to say something.
Mr. Thomas Hannah, Ms. Perry, any objections to this next offer approach? No. This will be exhibit number 44. A document containing what has been described by Detective Browning as a series of text messages sent from Sherra Wright to Lorenzen Wright, exhibit number 44. proceed, Mr. Hagerman.
Want to publish those real quick, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Is this a fire pit in the backyard?
Yes,
That same house we saw pictures of, Whisper Woods?
that's correct.
All right. Same fire pit?
Yes. And the piece of paper.
There's a piece of paper next to it
Yes,
that been burned up?
correct.
Is this stuff that was found in the fire pit?
Yes,
It's like binder clip, paper clips, other items, is that correct?
that's correct.
Just what you said, like some sort of like. Can you go back 1%? Some sort of like metal binder items or something?
Yeah, it looks like it'd be something on top of a file folder, or maybe even in the spine of it to keep it straight.
A piece of paper where you can make out some words like attorneys and north.
That's correct.
This fire was reported after Lorenzen went missing, but before he was found.
Right. Correct.
Oh, it's all the text message. Then I'll send that. Okay. This is from Sherra's phone, is that correct?
That's correct.
To Billy Turner?
Correct.
7/18/2010, 11:47, 17 seconds. Am I
That's-
right?
That's correct.
I'm gonna need my commission. Ren want to bring your car. It's gonna be 8 a.m. before you fly out. You owe me more. Exclamation point. And response. Minute. 45 seconds later. Okay.
Correct.
We don't need to publish the text messages between Sherra and Lorenzen, but we summarize in the sexual messages in which she wanted him to come to Memphis, come to her house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Find a piece of just evidentiary stuff from 2010. Through 2010, investigators collect some phone records with regard to Sherra Wright, Billy Turner, and Jimmy Martin.
Yes.
Were they as expansive as you had hoped they'd been when you
No.
inherited the case?
No.
Was it for a limited time period?
It was.
About how long was the time period for?
It varied, but the one was for almost a week and a half. Some were for maybe a month and a half.
Okay, shorter time periods than you may have wanted. Is that right?
Correct.
But did y'all analyze those things?
We did.
I marked the phone records into evidence. There's another witness, an expert, who's going to be offered with regard to information.
Perry or Mr. Thomas, any objection to this next offer of proof?
No objection.
Exhibit number 48. Describing Officer Brown, Detective Browning as phone records conversations between Sherra Wright, Billy Turner, and Jimmy Martin.
Jimmy Martin?
Jimmy Martin's the third person.
Yes, it's shared.
Sherra Wright,
Billy Turner.
Billy Turner, and Jimmy Martin.
Correct.
Exhibit number 48. Sorry, 45. I can't read my writing. Exhibit number 45.
To be clear, Detective, I'm sorry, to be clear, Detective, these are phone records, is that correct?
Correct.
They don't contain like the actual conversations that happened, do they?
No.
They contain do they contain records of who called who, when, and where?
Yeah.
They contain some location information.
Correct.
Those are the exhibits and evidence from 2010.
Correct.
In your review of 2010, did you become aware, or were you aware that Sherra Wright, Billy Turner, and Jimmy Martin had been developed as suspects at that time, back in 2010?
Yes.
In your review of the case, did you become aware that at some point after 2010 and 2012 that Jimmy Martin had made a statement to law enforcement?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to review that statement?
I did.
And I'm not going to ask you what he said, okay? But on the basis of that statement, were you interested in doing any one thing in particular after you heard it?
Yes.
And what was the one thing you were interested in doing?
Searching the lake off County Road.
Searching what?
The lake off County Road.
A lake off County Road. And about where is that?
It's going to be about an hour. Is it an hour just east down in Mississippi?
Is it near Walnut?
Yeah, near Walnut.
Near Walnut, Mississippi?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a lake that, describe this lake for me, like what it's close to?
It's close to a landfill, and then there's a gas station probably about a mile down the road. And it's just off the highway there.
You became interested in searching this lake.
Correct.
Were you aware that it had been searched before?
Yes.
In fact, back in 2012.
Correct.
Were you aware of, not meaning names, but who searched and how they searched this lake in 2012?
It was I think it was the Holly Springs Fire Department.
Was it in fact volunteers at the fire department?
Correct.
Were you aware of the search conditions at the time of their search?
It's documented that it was raining and that the water, they couldn't see in the water.
It's documented as almost zero visibility.
Correct.
And were you aware when they searched in 2012 those volunteers and the visibility zero, they didn't find it?
Correct.
But did you want to go back?
Yes.
Did you go back just yourself?
No.
Tell me what you did.
We got in contact with the FBI.
What resources did the FBI have?
They have a special dive team that actually grid searched large masses of water, small masses of water to locate things.
Did you go out there with them?
I did.
Describe going out there with them and what was done.
We briefed on, I think it was June 26th of the following day. They had all their equipment set up and they started grid searching and they located the firearm it was about like 9:30 in the morning.
Have they been searching a long time?
No.
Did they find it quickly?
Yes.
Did they find it in the area of the lake that you were interested in searching based on Jimmy Martin's statement?
Yes.
Can I ask you a series of photographs and tell us what's pictured? It's the last series of photographs.
It's going to be a photo, which is it's a photo of the driveway going down towards the lake.
Thanks, sir.
There's the golf cart. This is the end of that road, and then it's a photo of the lake. It's more of a then there's another zoomed in photo of the lake. We've got a photo of the FBI team that's out there that's doing the grid search next to the lake. And then there's a photo of the FBI dive team in a small boat. And then there's a photo of the FBI dive team in the water with their diver. Another zoomed in photo of the diver. And then there's a photo of 2 FBI agents holding up a plastic container. And then there's another photo of the FBI agent bringing that plastic container towards the shore. There's a photo of what's in the plastic container, which is the firearm. And then it's a photo zoomed in of the FBI agent holding the firearm to render it safe.
These plastic containers, that's something the FBI brought with you?
Yes.
Do you know why the gun was put in the container versus just in the agent's hands?
It was placed in there because if you take the firearm out of the water, it'll soon just start to decay. So they have to keep it in the water until they can do
In the
what
water
they need to.
until what?
They have to do some chemical processing.
Have those parts that say 600 exhibit.
Mr. Thomas and Mr. Perry, any objections to this next offer of proof? This would be, for the record, exhibit number 46. Photograph described by Detective Brown, and it's a photograph of a driveway leading to a lake. Exhibit number 46. Exhibit number 47 will be a photograph described by Detective Browning as a photo of the FBI team at the lake. Exhibit 47. Exhibit number 48. Photograph described by Detective Browning as a zoomed-in photo of the lake. Exhibit number 48. Exhibit number 49. Photograph described by Detective Browning as a photo showing the FBI dive team. Exhibit 49. Exhibit 50. Photograph described as having showing members of the dive team on a boat. Exhibit 50. Exhibit 51. Exhibit 51, a photograph described by Detective Browning as showing members of the FBI dive team entering the lake or the water. Exhibit 51. Exhibit 52. Photographs described by Detective Browning as a zoomed-in photograph of a FBI dive team member. Exhibit 52. Exhibit 53. Photograph described by Detective Brown as the 2 FBI agents and holding a plastic container. Exhibit 53. Exhibit 54. Photographs described by Detective Browning as an FBI agent with this plastic container returning to shore. Exhibit 54. Exhibit 55. Photograph described by Detective Browning as a photo showing a firearm in this plastic container. Exhibit 55. Last, Exhibit 56. Photograph described by Detective Browning as an FBI agent clearing the gun or firearm that was contained or placed in this plastic container. Exhibit number 56. Ms. Hagerman, you may proceed.
I will publish these, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Is that the little road going to the lake
That is
off the highway?
correct.
You can see the lake now, is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Better view of the lake.
Yes. That's going
Is
to be
this
the
the
time.
area where the search started from?
Yes.
Is this area important for any reason?
Yes.
What's the reason it's important?
This is where Jimmy Martin, in his statement, says that the firearm was thrown.
Agents on the lake.
Correct.
Divers in the water.
Correct.
You got something? Container. Barely see it in my picture. And the gun.
The gun.
And with regard to that gun, do you have any particular duties as soon as they found it?
Yes.
What was that going to be?
I had to keep it lodged in that water, and then I had to tag it in evidence, and then I couldn't leave it in evidence. So once it was tagged, I had to take it directly to TBI.
Do you have people to test firearms?
Correct.
To compare it to casing to the bullets?
Yes.
Question is, you recognize this box and what's inside?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the 9mm.
It's a gun found in the lake
Correct.
where Jimmy Martin said.
Yes.
Offer that in evidence to state such numbers.
Ms. Perry and Ms. Thomas, any objections to this next offer of proof?
No objection.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. This will be for the record exhibit number 5757. Commonly referred to as it's proper evidence box, commonly referred to as a gun box, and included in this box is a firearm, handgun, described by Detective Browning as an item that was recovered from this lake. Exhibit 57. Box and the contents of the box. For the record, the gun has been rendered safe, and it does have a restriction, a gun lock with restriction on the gun, so it will not fire. There are no bullets in that gun. For the record, exhibit number 57.
Publish it, Your Honor.
Yes, sir, you may.
What caliber handgun is this?
9mm.
What'd you say?
9mm.
A 9mm.
Yep.
TBI. And you can't wait to tell all your friends about what you found. What were the orders once you found it?
We wouldn't say anything about the fire.
Keep it secret.
Correct.
Secret from everybody?
Yes.
Why'd y'all do that?
Because we were in the process of writing a T3 wiretap.
Wait, the wiretap? Is that what you said?
Yes.
In the process of surveillance? Is that what a wiretap is? A type of surveillance?
Yes.
Where you listen to people's phones?
Correct.
Sometimes we put people under physical surveillance during those wiretaps?
We do.
Is that correct?
Yes.
In an attempt to try to find more evidence?
Correct.
Is that right?
That's right.
Did y'all also try to chase down other parts of what Jimmy Martin said?
Yes.
Were you able to locate someone in 2010 who was pregnant? Were you able to locate the pregnant nanny?
Yes.
Were you able to look at other things that Jimmy Martin told you to verify?
Yes.
At some point, was it released to the media that the murder weapon had been found?
Yes.
How was that done?
As far as
How was that done? How was the media told the murder weapon in the Lorenzen Wright case has now been found?
it was released by our command staff.
A press release
Correct.
on a particular day?
Yes.
A particular day that coincided with this wiretap and this surveillance?
Correct.
Were you interested, first, who were the suspects with regard to this wiretap?
Sherra Wright and Billy Turner.
Sherra Wright and Billy Turner.
Correct.
Did you see Billy Turner in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you describe what he's wearing?
He's wearing a gray suit with a black tie, and he has a gray mask.
The same Billy Turner that we saw the text message to,
Correct.
with the yard service,
Correct.
and the house that was the dot 2 miles or so from Cal's Cutoff.
Correct.
Same one that the suspect in 2010.
Correct.
Were you interested in how these suspects would react once they found out the murder weapon had been found?
We did.
How did Sherra Wright react once she found out the murder weapon had been found?
It was pretty chaotic.
Was
Pardon me,
she,
say it again and a little louder, please.
It was pretty chaotic. She was pretty distressed.
was she happy?
She was not.
Did she see this as an encouraging sign that her husband's murder would now be solved?
No.
An encouraging sign that she no longer had to worry about some mysterious murderer that had killed her husband?
No, she did not.
Did you say distressed?
Yes.
I associate distress with reacting like it's bad news.
Yes.
She reacted like it was.
One of the jurors said they cannot hear you, please, so talk up just a little bit louder, please, sir.
She reacted like it was bad news?
Yes.
How bad?
She could tell that she was under a lot of stress that we had found that firearm.
Were there, and when these phone calls are listened to, they're called interceptions, is that correct?
Correct.
Were there any interceptions that indicated that she may have been beyond distress, that she was almost suicidal?
Yes.
Once she learned this news and she was distressed, interceptions about suicidal, what did she do?
She flew to Memphis.
Is that something that had been planned?
No.
something she'd been planning for a week or two or a month or anything like that?
She had not been.
And when she flew to Memphis, is she under surveillance?
Yes.
Were there interceptions on her phone that indicated that she was very reluctant to speak on her phone?
There were.
Interceptions in which she believed her phone may be tapped?
Yes.
And was that surprising to y'all?
No.
Why was it not surprising to y'all?
Because she had been a part of a previous wiretap in 2010.
Were there any interceptions once she got to Memphis that indicated who she wanted to meet with so bad?
Yes.
What kind of interception was that?
It was text messages and calls.
From her phone?
No.
From someone else's phone?
From someone else's phone.
Well, then how were they intercepted if they were from someone else's phone?
Because they were coming across Billy Turner's interception.
She was messaging Billy Turner.
Not Sherra, but the other lady.
She was going through a third party to message Billy Turner
Correct.
once she came to Memphis,
Correct.
all of a sudden.
Correct.
Did they meet?
Yes,
Did y'all have surveillance there?
we did.
We'll hear from that officer later with regard to the surveillance. Is Billy shortly thereafter arrested?
Yes,
Was he arrested before or after Sherra?
before.
When Billy is arrested, the interceptions continue on Sherra Wright's name.
They do.
Now the news is not just a murder weapon and we're getting close, but a murderer's been arrested.
Correct.
Did her attitude change? Is she happy now?
No.
What's her reaction now?
It's more intense.
More intense.
Yes.
Good or bad?
I would take it as bad.
Right. There are more interceptions that she's suicidal.
Correct.
Speak up so we can hear.
Correct.
Once Billy is arrested, is he interviewed to your knowledge?
Yes.
But you're not the officer that conducted the interview, is that correct?
I did not.
And you're not the officer that performed the surveillance when the two met, is that correct?
That's correct.
We can hear from both those officers later.
That's correct.
That's all my questions, John.
You know the approach.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you to approach. Yes, sir. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 5:52 p.m. I told you we stop every day somewhere around 5:15 or 5:30. Went a little bit longer today. I also told you we try not to stop in the middle of a witness's testimony. And the state has just completed its direct examination of Detective Browning. And it would not be an appropriate time to start the cross-examination because you need to get out of the building. You need to get checked to a hotel. You need to get to dinner. So we're going to stop for tonight. Remember the court's instructions. You cannot discuss the case with anyone. You cannot discuss the case amongst yourself. We're going to resume at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I think we have 12 other cases set in the morning. We should be done with that by the time we resume trial. Let me know how your accommodations are. Let me know how the food is, whether it's edible. And let me know if the deputies are treating you well. That's a universal reaction. Every time I ask the jury that question, they all look at Deputy Smith and smile and laugh. So, thank you for your patience today. We'll see you back in court at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can follow Deputy Smith, please. Thank you, Brownie. I'll have you step down from the witness stand. We'll put you back on the witness stand tomorrow morning. I'll swear you in because it'll be a different day. You cannot discuss your testimony overnight with any other lawyer, sir. Thank you, sir. See you in the morning at 10 o'clock. Doors is closed. For the record, the jurors out. Anything else we need to address before we adjourn for the evening?
No, Your Honor, not from us. Not from
This court stand adjourned to 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, March 16, 2022 for the regular calendar, and 10 o'clock for the continuation of the trial.